Prince Handley coming to you with 100,000 watts of pure healing, miracle working love. I want to talk to you today, my friend, about the coercion of algorithms or creating your independence. Let me give you a description of what we'll discuss. AI runs off of algorithms, but not all algorithms are AI. Neither are they all the same. They're developed with different goals and methods. An algorithm is a step-by-step procedure for solving a problem or accomplishing some end. Artificial intelligence, AI, is the capability of computer systems or algorithms to imitate intelligent human behavior. Most of us are familiar with China's social credit system and the Communist China Party's ubiquitous use of surveillance. Online behavior is monitored, and algorithms are key to everything. So how does this fit into geopolitics, prophecy, and the end times? Well, keep reading or listening. You ain't seen nothing yet. So let's talk about the coercion of algorithms, or creating your independence. For years, the Chinese government has been using technologies to control its citizens in frightening ways. The internet is highly censored, and each person's cell phone number and online activity is assigned a unique ID number tied to their real name. Facial recognition technology is also increasingly widespread in China, with few restraints on how it can be used to track and surveil citizens. The China Supreme People's Court maintains a blacklist of people who the government alleges do not comply with court judgments, for example by not paying fines, but also things like failing to formally apologize to someone they're found to have wronged. Being on the blacklist now comes with harsh punishments. You might be unable to purchase high-speed train tickets, fly on an airplane, or send your kids to a private school. And the Chinese government has prohibited more than 20 million plane tickets from being purchased. So what is an algorithm? The definition of an algorithm is a set of instructions to be followed in calculations or other operations. This applies to both mathematics and computer science. So at the essential level, an AI algorithm is the programming that tells the computer how to learn to operate on its own. So an algorithm is the programming that tells the computer how to learn to operate on its own. So how does this apply to you? What China and the CCP, the China Communist Party, does, online behavior is already a big part of what it monitors, and algorithms are key to everything. China's basic goal is to process the vast USA data and data from other countries to create individual ratings which will determine your access to most things, from travel to jobs. A plan released just recently by the Beijing municipal government dictates that personal creditworthiness points will be used to reward and/or punish individuals and companies by granting or denying them access to public services like health care, travel, and employment. High-scoring green channel people can more easily access social opportunities. Those whose actions are disapproved of by the state will be restricted, even to having passports revoked. One high-profile system which has already been used in the USA for years is Sesame Credit, created by Ant Financial, and that's an offshoot of the Chinese online retail giant Alibaba. Using a secret algorithm, Sesame Credit constantly scores people from 350 to 950. Warning: its ratings are based upon info such as interpersonal relationships and consumer habits. Being friends with low-rated people is not good, and buying video games gets you marked down. I'm just wondering how Jesus Christ, the Messiah of Israel, Yeshua HaMashiach, would have rated being friends with low-rated people. Algorithms fuel or dictate how these surveillance tools operate, and AI facilitates the operation. Let me repeat that. Algorithms fuel or dictate how these surveillance tools operate, and AI facilitates the operation. So, what about the government alphabets? You can speak all you want to, but just not in a public forum, like a local school board meeting or in social media. Just look back the last 3 years. Your actions are going to be monitored more and more. How many of the people arrested for the alleged January 6 crimes never were in the area, but some communication or relationship supposedly tied them to that event? Look at how the government is attacking Elon Musk, who healed X, formerly Twitter, and exposed unfounded censorship by government influence on the previous Twitter. Across the world, governments have invested heavily in setting up a surveillance infrastructure. There are millions of cameras, but no one to monitor them 24/7. However, artificial intelligence, AI, can process every frame and present real-time analysis. The reason AI is making a vast impact is because of its self-learning capabilities. AI is constantly learning and improving. Error is minimized constantly and moves closer to, or even better than, human error. Algorithms attempt to influence you now, whether you realize it or not. Surveillance of travel, purchases, relationships, recreation and spending, and soon thoughts. Yes, soon your thoughts will be the next encroachment into your life. The Biden administration is already funding cognitive research to develop how to influence and thereby change your thinking. One way they do this is by influencing what you see, what you hear, and what you feel on news, social media, and entertainment, and by training people and shaping policy through neuroscience. You need to read or listen to my teaching on smart cities, or are they? And at the end of that teaching, focus on what to watch out for. Now, my friend, let's talk about, so who trains AI how to make decisions? That's a very good question. It is the programmer who influences the algorithm, the outcome, the answers, and many times with bias, depending on the desired outcome, political, financial, spiritual, or other ideological opinion or bias. Look at the recent example of Google AI Gemini, which would not allow a white person image on certain searches for George Washington. Gemini responded to a prompt for a portrait of a founding father of America with images of a Native American man in a traditional headdress, a black man, a darker-skinned non-white man, and an Asian man, all in colonial-era garb. Elon Musk accused Google of pushing a pro-diversity bias into its product. And my friend, experts have long warned that AI tools therefore have the potential to replicate the racial and gender biases baked into that information. Evidence of racial bias in Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, Meta AI, and ChatGPT has been proven. Google's public apology after its Gemini artificial intelligence produced historically inaccurate images and refused to show pictures of white people has led to questions about potential racial bias in other big tech chatbots. Gemini was asked why showing a picture of a white person was bad, and the answer? Racial generalizations have been used historically to justify oppression and violence against marginalized groups. Now, my friend, let me interject here. We are now at the entrance to the end times. As we progress farther into the last days, many demonic forces will be loosed. Many are already here. Look at what happened since January 2021. Lots of algorithms will be formulated or written not only with ideological bias, but with demonic anointing, either by demonically inspired people or by hybrid beings. I want to talk to you about hybrid. The definition of hybrid is this: one whose DNA has been changed by genetic manipulation, synthetic biology, or a product of conception via sex with a fallen angel and a human woman. So, my friend, there is a new form of eugenics, not only being espoused but heavily financed and researched to create superhumans via genetic modification of human genes in eggs, sperm, and early stage embryos. Heritable genome editing changes genes in eggs, sperm, or early embryos to try to control the traits of a future child. Such alterations would affect every cell of the resulting person and all subsequent generations of that person. You need to read my book, Enhanced Humans, Mystery Matrix. I put a link for that in the show notes of this podcast. My friend, the Nephilim giants, or fallen ones, that were destroyed by the flood in Noah's day, died. However, the demons from fallen angels that inhabited them did not. You can read later in the book of Numbers in the Tanakh, the Old Testament, that they were back after the flood. And again, read my book, Enhanced Humans, Mystery Matrix, for more details on that subject. So is there anything else that you should know? Yes. In addition to coercion of algorithms, while we're talking about things that can mess your life up, there are external attacks from terrorists and enemy agents, both individual and foreign governments, that can set you back to the 1800s, literally. Things like EMP attacks that can shut down your automobile, your electronic devices, your hospital emergency centers, your military and police communications, your banks, and critical supplies. In the aftermath of an EMP event, that's electromagnetic pulsation event, individuals and communities may face several challenges. Loss of communication. The disruption of communication networks can isolate communities, making it challenging to coordinate emergency responses and receive critical information. Limited access to information. Without functioning electronic devices, access to news, weather updates, and emergency alerts become limited. Transportation disruptions. Modern transportation systems, which rely on electronic controls, may experience malfunctions, affecting travel and logistics. Financial transactions. Electronic payment systems can be disrupted, requiring a shift to alternative forms of payment during recovery. Hospital and emergency operations. Electronic and necessary medical procedures, plus critical supplies, along with crisis communication. So, my friend, what do you need to prepare for these things? I'm glad you asked. Study faithfully, or read or listen to my teaching, Code Red, EMP Threat Urgent Priority. I placed a link for that teaching in the show notes of the podcast. Then prepare by making sure you have the following on hand: food, water, electricity or power, money, cash, gold, or crypto, communications, and a Faraday cage or other EMP shielding equipment. Now, I'm going to give you some tremendous recommendations to help you in these crisis times. For gold, silver, and precious metals, for asset preservation, I recommend Lear Capital. You get a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. And there's free information on how precious metals can help preserve your hard-earned assets. Just last year, most seniors lost 22% on their IRAs. Also, you can find out what products are exempt from IRS reporting by Lear Capital. Lear is the precious metals leader since 1997 with best-in-class reputation. Plus, do not forget, protect yourself from inflation. Note, gold outperformed both stocks and real estate by over 80% since the year 2000. So I put a link for Lear Capital in the show notes of the podcast. Also, for communications, I recommend having a satellite phone or a PTT phone, that's push to talk, or a satellite radio, That can be used also by groups of your friends. And I also recommend a Faraday cage to protect your electronic devices. You want EMP shield. And I also placed links in the show notes of the podcast for all those items. Notice you can buy or rent the communication devices that I recommend. Now, for medical supplies, I recommend Jace Medical. Stock up with your necessary prescribed medicines and others, including ivermectin and amoxicillin. Lots of medicines are hard to obtain even now with China problems and supply chain operations. And it's not going to be any better with the multitudes of illegal immigrants, many of whom are terrorists in our country now. And I placed a link for that in the show notes of the podcast. Notice this: don't let a crisis keep you from the medicines you need. Now, EMP preparedness for electronic devices and communication is necessary. To enhance resilience and mitigate the impact of an EMP or electronic device and communication network, consider the following preparedness strategies. All of the following are available from the Satellite Phone Store, and I recommend them. EMP shielding. Invest in EMP shielding for critical electronic devices to protect them from damaging pulses. Have backup power sources, such as solar charges or hand crank generators, to keep essential devices operational during power outages. Also, communication alternatives. Establish communication backup plans using non-electronic means like two-way radios or signal mirrors. And then also data backups. Regularly back up important data to physical storage and store in an EMP-protected Faraday bag. And by the way, I've given you a link in the show notes on how to obtain a Faraday bag. My friend, do not be left without communication. Prepare now. The effects of an electromagnetic pulse on electronic devices and communication networks are significant challenges in a technology-driven society. Understanding these effects empowers us to take proactive measures in EMP preparedness. And do not forget the impact of an EMP on transportation systems and the steps individuals, their neighbors, and communities can take to enhance their resilience in this critical area. So let me ask you this: can illegal immigrants use algorithms and AI? And what about illegal terrorists in our country? Defense customers and manufacturers alike know that it's those actors who can reliably access intelligence and act on it first who have the advantage. That's where AI and algorithms play a very important part. But what about if those systems are being directed against us by rogue terrorists or enemies from within or abroad? As of January 2024, more than 7.2 million migrants had illegally crossed into the U.S. over the southwest border during U.S. President Joe Biden's administration, a number higher than the individual populations of 36 states. A foreign government can easily provide an individual terrorist inside the USA with both the materials and the expertise to implement an EMP attack in local areas. Again, reference my teaching, Code Red EMP Threat Urgent Priority. I placed a link for that in the show notes of the podcast. You'll see there how an attack can be launched from a beer can. But think about how non-EMP or other type attacks programmed with algorithms and directed at specific geographic or technocentric operations by AI can cause chaotic rupture in society. So let me ask you this, my friend. Do you want to learn about AI? If you want to learn about AI, go to Prince Handley, that's me, Teachings at the University of Excellence. I placed a link for that in the show notes of the podcast. And then I'm going to give you some teachings to give you an idea of how AI may be used in the end times by the Antichrist. That's the false Messiah, not the real Messiah, and his global director of religion, the false prophet. This will cause a chaotic rupture in geopolitics while fulfilling prophecy in the end times. So I've placed a link to 8 different teachings on AI. There's more than artificial intelligence, parts 1 through 7, plus the 4th Industrial Revolution and New AI, part 8. Hopefully, my friend, you've gained some enlightenment as to what forces may be shaping your future. So now, my friend, you know how the coercion of algorithms and AI fit into geopolitics, prophecy, and the end times. So what else does Prince Handley recommend? Stop using Google and Gmail for your private email communications. I recommend Proton Mail or Signal or Telegraph for private communications in text and email. All of these are free. I use them all. I like the layout of Proton Mail best, and you can use Proton Mail for double encryption. Finally, get off the grid as much as possible, but prepare for chaos. Take EMS training so that you can help people that have been injured. Set up communication cells with friends, neighborhood, community, church, or synagogue. Familiarize yourself with bartering. Have items that you can trade for what you need. And finally, make sure you know Jesus, the Mashiach of Israel, the Messiah, so that you can pray and get direction. If you don't know him, pray this prayer. Father in heaven, I'm not sure if I know you personally. Please forgive my sins and help me to live for you. I ask your Son, Jesus, to save me and to take me to heaven when I die. Show me the way every day and help me to help others. Now, my friend, if you prayed this prayer, start reading the Holy Bible every day. Start in the book of John in the New Testament. Find a church that preaches the Holy Bible and that believes in miracles. That's very important. Pray every day. Tell God what you need and ask him to lead you. My friend, this has been your friend, Prince Handley, coming to you with 100,000 watts of pure, healing, miracle-working love. Baruch haba b'Shem Adonai.